Hi guys, so this is Alex again, and I'm back reading our story, Mr. Klutz is Nuts. Now yesterday we read 2 chapters. The first 2 chapters talked about how Mr. Klutz, the principal, is so crazy and nuts. So yesterday we met our principal by him riding on a skateboard and falling into some bushes. We also re-met our main characters, and I'm going to come up to their page. These are our main characters, right? AJ is our pretty main character, and these are all of his friends and classmates. And basically what happened to AJ is that he was playing hockey outside, and he got in trouble, and his teacher, Miss Daisy, told him and sent him to the principal's office. So yesterday I asked you to make your predictions about this next chapter, The Principal is Your Pal, and what that can mean. So we're going to get started with reading, okay guys? So chapter 3, The Principal is Your Pal. The principal is like the king of the school. He gets to tell everybody what to do and where to go. That is cool. If I can't be a professional hockey player when I grow up, I want to be principal so I can boss teachers around. My friend Billy from around the corner, who was in 2nd grade last year, told me that the principals have a dungeon down in the basement of the school where they torture kids who misbehave. I don't know if Billy's telling the truth or not, but one time we had gym class and we passed by this open door in the basement, and there were all kinds of scary looking things in there. Michael said he saw chains hanging from the ceiling over chairs with straps on arms and legs, so I guess that's what Mr. Klutz uses to torture bad kids. I was scared. I've never been to the principal's office before. On the way there, I stopped into the boys' bathroom. Maybe I could dig a tunnel out of the school and escape, I thought. My friend Billy told me he saw that in a war movie once. These guys dug their way out of the prison camp with a spoon. But I didn't have a spoon, and I didn't want to touch the floor of the bathroom anyway. Yuck! When I got to Mr. Klutz's office, his secretary made me sit in the chair for about 1,000,000 hours. Mr. Klutz's door was closed the whole time. I wonder if he was torturing some other kid. I didn't hear any screams or anything. Finally, the secretary said I could go inside. I opened the door and was surprised to see Mr. Klutz was hanging upside down from a bar near the ceiling. He had on boots and were attached to the bar. "What are you doing up there?" I asked. "Oh, just hanging around," Mr. Klutz said as he pulled himself out of his boots and jumped down onto the floor. "When the blood rushes to my head, it helps me think." Well, I know that blood rushing to your head doesn't help you grow hair, because Mr. Klutz had no hair on his head at all. He was as bald as a balloon. Mr. Klutz's office was pretty much like my dad's office, except he had a big snowboarding poster on the wall and a foosball table in the corner. So, boys and girls, silly Mr. Klutz is saying that him hanging upside down when the blood rushes to his head, so that means when you feel kind of dizzy, helps him think. So what's something that helps you think? I know for me, it's reading or studying or doing homework in a very, very quiet place. Or even if I'm thinking about something else, thinking in a very, very quiet place. I know some of my friends have their best thoughts when they're in the shower. So what do you do to help you think? Let's keep going. Oh, and he also had a punching bag with his face on it. Come to think of it, I didn't look anything like my dad's office. I kept my head down when he told me to take a seat, so he would feel sorry for me. When you get into trouble, always keep your head down, because if grown-ups feel sorry for you, they won't punish you as badly. Miss Daisy told me why you were here, Mr. Klutz said, but I'd like to hear your side of the story. Miss Daisy thinks I stole some straws, I told him. What makes you think that, AJ? Well, she was all mad at me, and she said, "That's the last straw," and she told me to go into your office. I swear, I didn't take any straws. I didn't even know where she keeps straws. So, boys and girls, like the last book we talked about with thinking outside of the box, those are one of those sayings that doesn't necessarily mean what the words are saying. You know, thinking outside of a box, right? We don't stand outside of a box to think. That's silly. So when Miss Daisy said she was on her last straw, that basically means that she had enough. That was it. She was done tolerating what AJ was doing. But it doesn't mean she had no more straws left. That's silly. You know, where would she get all those straws from? So let's keep going, okay? I see, Mr. Klutz said, rubbing his chin. I thought it had something to do with a hockey game that got out of control, and there's this little matter of forgetting to bring in current events. Well, that too. Mr. Klutz didn't look like he was going to torture me. In fact, he didn't look mad at all. You may not believe this, he told me, but I was once a boy. Just once, I asked? I'm a boy all the time. No, what I mean is I used to be young like you. I'll bet you were really good in school, I said. No, actually, it was just the opposite, the principal told me. I didn't like school at all, and I wasn't a very good student. Really? I figure that anybody who grew up to be a principal must have loved school as a kid. Why else would you want to hang out around a school all day as a grown-up? Except maybe to boss teachers around. When I was a boy, I could never sit still, Mr. Klutz said. I wanted to run around all the time and didn't have the motivation to do my schoolwork. Do you know what motivation is, AJ? Boys and girls, I want you to tell your loved one who may be sitting with you what motivation is for you. What does that word mean? Maybe how do you become motivated and what you do to stay motivated. So that's a really good thing to talk about, especially in times of the coronavirus that's going around right now. You know, how do you stay motivated to make sure you're doing your schoolwork and still talking to Mrs. Halprin and learning every day? That's a really good thing to discuss. It is like a motor inside of you that makes you want to do stuff, I said. That's why it's called motivation. I guess you could say that, Mr. Klutz said. Sometimes my mother would give me a little reward if I did a good job on my homework. A piece of candy, for instance. You see, while I didn't like school, I certainly did like candy. So I would try hard in school in order to get the candy. Does that make sense to you? Well, sure. AJ, if I were to give you some candy, do you think it might help you remember or to bring in your current event next time? My parents told me never take candy from strangers, I told him. I'm not a stranger, Mr. Klutz said. Did you ever hear anyone say your principal is your pal? If you need to spell the word principal, you can always remember your principal is your pal. Get it? Well, if you put it away, I suppose I could take some candy. Mr. Klutz reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a chocolate bar. It was the kind with marshmallows inside and caramel. My mouth was watering. Go easy with the hockey. And let's see if you can remember to bring in that current event tomorrow, he said as he handed me the candy bar. Don't tell anybody about this, okay? It's just a little secret between us, okay? I ran out of the office just in case he had to give me the candy bar so I could tie me to a chair and torture me. All right, boys and girls, so now we're going to read Chapter 4. Chapter 4 is talking about the present. So, what do you think that means, the present, after everything we've just talked about and, have read the past 2 days? Make your predictions. Here we go. When I got back to class, everybody looked at me. I guess they wanted to see if I was crying or bleeding or anything. Did Klutz bring you down into his torture chamber? Ryan whispered when he sat in my seat. Nope, I said. He gave me a present. What did he give you? I can't tell you. Oh, come on. I promised I wouldn't tell. I'll be your best friend. Well, okay, I'll show you at lunch. During lunch, I sat at a table with my new best friend Ryan, Michael, Smarty Pants Andrea, and Emily, who cries all the time even if she's not hurt or anything. You should have seen their eyes bug out when I showed them the candy bar. Where did you get that? Michael asked. Your mom usually gives you carrot sticks for dessert. Mr. Klutz gave it to me, I explained. He got a whole drawer filled with them. Why, did he give you a candy bar? Asked Emily. I could tell she was jealous. Because I didn't bring in my current event, I explained. Wait a minute, Andrea said, all angry and all. You got sent to the principal's office for being bad, and instead of punishing you, he gave you a candy bar? That's not fair. I brought in 3 current events and I didn't get a candy bar. Maybe you should try not being so perfect all the time, I said. You can have my carrot sticks, Andrea. I love getting Andrea mad. She thinks she knows everything. Whenever we have extra homework assignments or have homework assignments, she does extra work to show Miss Daisy how smart she is and make the rest of us look bad. Mr. Klutz told me he's my pal, I said, biting off a piece of the chocolate bar right in front of Andrea's face. He said I could come in for a candy bar anytime I want one. That last part wasn't exactly true, but it was fun to say anyway. The principal should give candy bars to students who complete their assignments, Andrea said, not kids who don't. Yeah, Emily sniffed. She looked like she may run into the room crying like she usually does for no reason. I want to go to the principal's office, my best friend Ryan announced. Me too, Michael agreed. I want a candy bar. Oh gosh, so now everybody wants to go to the principal's office for a candy bar. They all watched while I finished off the candy bar. I licked the extra chocolate off my fingers and rubbed my tummy just to make sure they would know how good it was. Oh gosh. So boys and girls, the last question for today is, what is the best present any teacher has ever given you? Was it a prize from a prize box? Was it candy? Tell us on Seesaw. So the next chapter we're going to read tomorrow and start off with is My Big Mouth. So I wonder what that means, okay? So think of everything we just talked about and everything we talked about yesterday and try to make a prediction for this chapter, what that means. My Big Mouth. Well, I hope you guys have a very nice night and I'll be talking to you tomorrow. Bye.